Okay, ladies, this is card number 3. It is called a side step card because one side of the card has steps, and it goes like so. You can see from top down that that's the way it is. It looks more like this when you're looking at it like you would normally look at a card. There it is from this end, and there it is from this end, and here it is from the back. Alrighty, so in your card kit, different things that you're going to need for this card would be the Many Messages card stamp set and its matching dies, and that is if you want to cut out this happy birthday and this message which says wishing you a year of magical moments and wonderful memories. So those are the two that I picked to go to the card. So what I did first was took my Stamparatus and mounted my Many Messages die in the Stamparatus, and then I put the paper, the cardstock, where I wanted it. Looks like I may want to move it up a little. And you can, if you like, you can stamp the whole piece. So put a half sheet of Whisper White in here, or Basic White, and then stamp the whole stamp, and then when you cut them out, you'll have some extra little sayings to keep. I just wanted to do this way for the sake of brevity, and I'm inking this up with Memento Tuxedo Black. And I'm pressing firmly down. Large stamp like this is sometimes kind of interesting to get stamped perfectly. So we're going to check it here. And you see how light it is? Even though that stamp was very heavily inked, it just did not stamp very dark. So I'm going to go over it a couple times probably before it's dark enough for me to say that it's done. I'm going to press a little bit on the two stamps that I really want to have stamped well. One more time, I think. And this, believe it or not, this Tuxedo Black was newly re-inked just this morning, just for the purpose of stamping this particular stamp. So we shall see if I can get it this time. Let's see if third try is a charm. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to take it out of there. Make sure it dries really well. And I am going to run that piece through the Big Shot with the Many Messages die. So I'm going to put the Big Shot on up here I'm going to put my newly stamped paper up there. I'm going to get the die from the many messages and find which ones go with those two sentiments. And I'm going to move it up here because you want to get your whole die on the platform, not just part of it. You save it from bending. Okay, so get it nice and centered and straight on the words happy birthday and the wishing you a year of wonderful memories sentiments. And you can see where you're going to get congratulations and this celebrate one and this be strong one right along with them. Okay, so I'm going to try to get that as straight as possible. I'm going to put the top plate on, run her through, and you don't have to go very far because we're only using part of the die. And there we go. And we'll take that off, and we'll take this off, and we'll get rid of the big shot over here. And we'll take our die off. Let's see if we can get that straighter. Okay. And then we'll take these off of the sheet here. And we'll take a look at what goodies we have cut out. And we have the happy birthday right there. Where did it go? And we have the wishing you. This is the happy birthday. And this is the wishing you. Those are the only two that we need for this card. But look at that. You have the be strong, be brave. You've got this. You've got the congratulations. You get a cute little heart right here. Another little star right here that wasn't exactly centered properly on there. And I think this one would have been whatever was stamped down there. And this one would have had another sentiment. But you can use these to stamp. I'm so happy to celebrate these moments with you. That's a cute sentiment. You could use that one instead of the wishing you a year of magical stuff. Magical stuff. That's a good one. So we have everything we need anyway. And I'm going to just toss those down there. We're going to move these off and we'll move those off, and those are the ones we want to keep. And I will set them right up here, just out of reach of my stamping mess here. Okay, so according to the directions, the first thing that we're going to want to do is cut and fold the card base. Here is the cutting guide for the card base. If I were you, when I was starting this, I would be putting this into my machine this way, into my cutter in this direction. And let me show you that. Because this measurement up here is the one that will line up with the 1¼ inch, and you go from the 1¼ inch down to 6 1/8. So let me bring in an actual piece of cardstock. This is the wrong color, but it is the same size, so I can show you. You're going to put this on 2 3/4. You're going to follow that cutting guide, which says the smallest area is 1 1/4. So you're going to look for 1 1/4 on this ruler, which is right there. It's hard to see on our green. And then we're going to move it down to 6 1/8, which is right there. Okay, this little arrow on your cutter points to the place. And that is the only way that you're going to be able to get that slit in the center nicely, unless you fold the card and cut it with scissors after you mark it. Okay, but you will have a piece of this already cut for you in your card kit. And it will look like this. Okay? I have it upside down. Let's do this over again. Okay, so we're going to fold it in half, and then in the back, where the wider piece of paper is, that one gets folded up. The next one gets folded down. That's that one down there. The next one gets folded up. Next one gets folded down. And the last one, which is our 1 1/4, where we started, that gets folded up. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our, I'm going to use Tombow just so that I can get this positioned exactly where I wanted, but you could just as easily use some tape runner or your standard adhesive seal, tear and tape. Okay, and then I've tried to cut these so that the plaid kind of matches up. That's about the best I could do. That one's pretty close. But this piece is just going to butt up against the other one. It's not going to have any border between the two plaid pieces, but top and bottom it will have a little border. So there we go, just like so. All right. Be nice if that was a little more even. I didn't cut that real well. Hopefully yours will be cut better. Okay, so there's where you do that. And then you're going to take your braided linen trim, and there's a piece, a long piece and a short piece. You're going to lay the long piece across here, and we're going to put some standard tape runner on both sides. And we're going to take that piece and start it off in the middle of that top and bottom, in the middle, between the first fold and the bottom of the card, in the middle. And then we're going to stretch it across, and we're going to fold it around to the back. And since this is on a card, we may want to take a piece of clear tape. What do they call this? Cellophane tape? Scotch tape, I would call it, but you know, it's not Scotch brand. Clear tape. And it's got folded in half on me here. Just to make sure those ends stay down right there. And it doesn't stick to the rest of the card also. And that's the last little piece on this roll. Just enough for this card. And a piece there to hold that down. Alright, so that's pretty much in place. Alright. Our next option is to stamp mountains. I used a piece of Seaside Spray. However, the Seaside Spray is only available in an in-color pack on the clearance rack. It's just no longer in use. what I have packed in your card is a piece of balmy blue. You will see here are some mountains stamped on the balmy blue as compared to my mountains stamped on Seaside Spray. You may like one more than the other, so if you have a piece of Seaside Spray and you want to use it, that would be a good thing. But balmy blue works nice. You could also use Soft Sky or any other kind of generic blue paper that you have. Alright, so the first thing I did was cut out a blank row of mountains with this die from this set. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the back side of this stamp. Now we're talking about the, oh, let me get that off of there. The back side of the mountain stamp. And this is, one side is detailed, one side is flat. I'm going to take the flat side. Alright. And we're going to take Seaside Spray ink. If you use balmy blue paper, you can still use the Seaside Spray ink. Now, if you will notice, if I go to stamp this, these just do not line up. So what you have to do in order to get this to line up properly is to turn it over and to stamp on the mirror side of it or the back side, and you will see that that lines up fairly well. And I am going to, where am I in the picture? There I am now. Let me try stamping just like so. So we're going to take that image and, or that stamp, and clean it off. And then we're going to find our piece of Seaside Spray. We're going to turn our stamp over to the detailed side and ink up that side. Okay. And we'll close this up for now. And then we're going to stamp the mountains on the paper, and we're going to run them through the Big Shot with that same die that we talked about. And I'm going to do that over here, and I'll be right back with you in a second. There it is. Alright, so you can actually set both of those mountain pieces aside for a minute. And we're going to take the stitch circles for, it was from the Stitch Shapes Framelits dies that I cut this large circle. And we're going to stamp a mountain range on that, and the lady that I copied from, she actually used the flat side and stamped off, so that's what we're going to do. I have a piece here of that's not, I have to, when you have a big stamp, you might want to stamp it this way rather than I'm going to stamp off over here, and we're going to stamp on to this circle. Okay, so it's very light, but it is there. And you can't see that very well, but I will try bringing it up. There it is. You can see that image on there. I'll try turning down the light a little. Let's see if that helps. That helps a little bit. Okay. And then below that, we're going to use the tree line. That's what I call it anyway. It's like a row of pine trees. And we're going to use garden green ink and the row of trees flat side. Okay. And we are going to stamp off with that, otherwise it'll be extremely dark. And we're going to stamp on the card right here. Alrighty. And then we're going to clean off this flat side of this green, and we are going to turn it over to the detailed side of this green. Textured side, detailed side, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to stamp this not stamped off right below that, and we want to try to get the horizon straight here. My sample card, I found out the horizon's not all that straight. I was a little surprised. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good. Clean off that stamp again. And that's all we need to stamp on that particular piece. Now you have a piece of garden green paper in your kit that is 5.5 by 1 3/4. What you're going to do, and I neglected to do this for you, but you're going to cut that exactly in half. So you'll have two pieces like that. And you're going to ink up first one side of this paper, of this stamp I mean, and stamp this as close to the top edge as you can. I didn't put enough ink on there because it's a little wider than I thought, so let's go this way and stamp up half of this, and you want to make sure some of it goes off the edge but not a lot of it. So we're going to stamp just like so. Alrighty, so that's piece one. Now you want to ink up the other side of the stamp. And you ask maybe why you just don't stamp the one piece all the way across. This is not 5.5. It's like the layer version of it. It's it's a 1/2 inch smaller than the paper is a 1/2 inch bigger than the stamp. So this way you get coverage end to end. Alrighty. Then you're going to take the single tree stamp and stamp. You have a piece that's a little bit bigger than this. Let's see if I can find exactly that piece. I cut a piece of it off, but it was more like room for 3 trees on here. But I'm only using 1. So we're going to stamp 1 tree here. And then we're going to get the other tree from the kit. There it is, mounted up on a block. And we're going to stamp that on this small green piece. So this piece is going to be wider, so you'll know which one to use. This one is the wider piece. This is the narrower piece. And you just do 1 tree on here. Okay. And I think that may be... No, we have one more thing we need to stamp. I just couldn't remember what it was. And that is that little cloud from the set. And it gets stamped in Seaside Spray or Balmy Blue, whichever one you happen to be using for your theme. So, and then there's a scrap of paper like this. And I start in one corner because then if you make a mistake you have room to turn it over and do one there. Or if you wanted 2 sets of clouds on your kit. There you go. You could do it like that. Alright. And then you're going to cut those out with their matching die. Dies. The trees and the clouds are going to get cut out with their matching dies. So they will look like this is the clouds. And here's a tree. And here's the tree. Alright. So those are your pieces parts. Now you have to take these and use this really weird looking die. Right here. This is very strange looking, but you have to find where they match up. Looks like this is it here. Okay. And then I am going to put a piece of washi tape there so that it holds still for me. And I'm going to make sure it's lined up perfectly, as perfect as I can get. Like so. And I'll put a piece of washi tape and I'll stick that in the big shot. And when it comes out of the big shot it will look like that. That's pretty good. And then we'll have to find out where it lines up on the other side, which is the other side of the die, so should be kind of easy to find it. I think that's it right there. And I'm going to tape it down with the washi tape. I use washi tape because when pulled slowly off of something, it's removable. So don't jerk it off. So now this has been run through and we're going to just pull that off very slowly. And there's our trees underneath. And that piece goes back in the kit. And you could actually save the washi tape for another sticky project. Alright, so I think we have what we need. We have our mountains in the background. We have our mountains for the foreground. We have our tree. We have our other tree. And we have our round disc and we have our cloud. So now the one little detail I want to do is I want to take light crumb cake. I'm going to make this look like kind of like sandy desert here. And I'm going to color that in. It looks like a little bit of tumbleweeds or shrubbery out in the desert, I think anyway. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll say that again. That's what's nice about Stampin' Blends, is you can color over any water-based ink and it won't smear. Alright, so there we go. That piece is totally finished for later. Now, here's where we're going to try to start to assemble our card piece and put this what is that stuff? Oh, braided twine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to take this mountain range and we're going to glue it to the very top edge of this top step, just like so. Alright, so I'm putting the glue on the top edge of the step rather than on the piece I'm going to glue it to, because I just think it'll work out better that way. Okay, so now you don't want to go into here with this mountain piece. It has to just butt up against so that the card can still close, and you want to just let it set there and press down like so. Alright, and then you're going to turn the card over to the back side, because that's the easier way to cut, and cut this so it is straight down like so, and save this piece. Okay, now we're going to look back here and we're going to turn this over and we're going to put this, we're going to find out how much of this we need here. But when this gets put on, it's going to get put on with dimensionals right across here. Now you have to be below your mountains so that your pieces don't, your dimensionals don't show. So the best thing to do is use, number one, to use small dimensionals, or if you don't have them, just to make sure that you put them below the peak of the mountain and not on that fold. If you put something on that fold, your card will not open and close properly. Alright, so you want to make sure that you have your piece able to open and close. See how that's going to lay back if it was opened all the way? So you want to be able to do that. Then you're going to, this is giving you your mountain range. It's going to give you dimension to your mountain. Alright, so I have the backs off of that, and I'm going to look here, and this is the front side, the side with the ink, and we're going to stick that down on there just above that fold. Alright, so how does that look from this way? It's looking pretty good. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cut this off square again. And we're going to save this piece. Alright. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this piece and we're going to put dimensionals on the reverse side of it. Like so. Like so. And I got a border piece here, and like so. And we're going to peel those off. Okay, and we're going to put this piece just a little lower than the bottom of these mountains here. And we're going to stick it off the edge so that we can trim it even. It's easiest to trim even from the back side of things. And that's what I did, so I put that on. Then you have this remaining piece here, and it is going to go right on top of there, covering up this. Well, let's trim this off a little so that that peak doesn't show. And then we can just put this even with the edge of the card. On this side, and tuck just down below this area right here. So this one does not need to be popped up because this one already is. So we can just put a small piece of dimensional on the straight edge, and we can glue down the rest, because you see over here this is popped up and this isn't, so you want it to lay flat. So you're going to put a dimensional on that side to hold it up, and then some liquid glue on the bottom edge of this guy here. And that will look something like that. Alright. Alright. Then you're going to take your trees that you cut out last time, and this one goes all the way down to the bottom of the step right here on the inside, and it gets glued even to either side, and that is just glued down flat. So we're going to take and put some stuff on there. These trees come up and touch the mountains, so you want a little bit of glue up there just to make sure they don't shift on you. Put that right down in the bottom of the step and glue it even, side to side. Alright, so now you have your background mountains, and every one of these is going to look a little bit different. Alright, you see how the mountains were put on in a different way over here, so they're going to look a little bit different. Doesn't matter, every one is different. Then you have your other piece of trees. It's going to go down in this step, and if you closed it up, you'll see that they're right on the same height. So we're going to take 1/4 inch off of this piece just by putting it in our trimmer, putting the bottom of it over here on the 1/4 inch side, and cut with the trimmer. And then when you put this back in here, avalanche, it's going to be down a little bit lower, and so you'll have 2 lines of trees, which is a little bit more inviting. So the glue on this one you're going to put on the step itself, because you could get glue on the back of the trees if you glue up too high. So this one is just going to go right even in the step, and then you pinch it and hold it for good there. Alrighty, and then our little sentiment that we had, it's going to get glued right in the center of this, just below the trees. So this is going to, what we'll view will be wishing you a year of magical moments, and then when you open the card you say, and wonderful memories will also show. So that is where that goes. You have optional placement of where you can put it, though, you know, I'm not gonna hold you to having to put it exactly in the right place, but I like it that way, so that the wishing you a year of magical moments shows is straight and is in pretty much the center of that space. Alright, like so. Alright, so you're done with that side of the card. Almost. The next thing you're going to do is take your circle that you made, put some dimensionals on the back side of it. I like lots of dimensionals. I don't like anything sagging, so I kind of don't skimp on them, but you know, 4 or 5 or 6 of them, let's see, is fine. Something like that. This one here I could actually move out closer to the edge, and then I wouldn't have to worry about it. Alright, so it gets put after you take the stickiness off the back, all the little papers. It gets late at night and I'm getting fumble fingers. Well, it's not that late at night, but it's later than I usually make a video. Alrighty, they're all shiny except that one. They're all shiny, that means they're all sticky. So now I'm going to place that about a 1/4 inch above the twine, alright? Above the braided trim, right in the center of that side piece. Then I'm going to find our happy birthday sentiment, and I'm going to put some dimensionals on that, 3 large ones to be exact. That's just how many I use. If you don't want to use that many, or if you want to use scraps of them, that's fine. Peel them off, and we're going to put happy birthday over to the left, small border, top and bottom. Best thing to do is to get it straight. And that looks pretty good to me. Alright, so I'm going to try to lay this down here so that you can see what I'm doing next. Then we're going to take the large tree and we're going to put dimensionals on the back. Now this tree is going to go over the right at the seam to cover that seam up. So we're going to want to make sure we have a dimensional above here and below here. So I'm just going to go and take and put a piece of dimensional above and a piece of dimensional below, so that we know right on that seam we're going to have one below, and it can glue down the piece itself, that's okay, and one above. And we're going to peel that off. And then we're going to put a couple on the tree itself, but more over to the side. Alrighty, so we're going to put, and now we're going to put this tree on. We want to make sure we keep our string straight. We don't want it bulging down here or pulling it up here. So I think kind of like that is good. And then our other tree, get some dimensionals. There's no seam involved over here, but there is height involved, so you don't want to go too high. So just like so, and over to the right, but not off the edge of the card, because you still want to be able to get it in the envelope. All right, so two more things to do. One of them is to glue down these clouds, and I'm just going to put a little liquid glue over here, and I should have, and a piece of dimensional on this very outside edge to keep that from collapsing down. And we're going to put that right on the card like so, just so the edge of the cloud is on the edge of the paper. And that will hold that up dimensional wise. And the very last thing then is to take your smaller piece of braided trim. It's linen braided trim from Stampin' Up, and it goes under there, and a knot is tied. And let's see if I can get a nice knot. Left over right. And then I'm going to trim off some of these extras like so, and that completes our card. That's card number 3, and it stands up like that. Alright, now it looks like my tree is leaning a little, so you want to make sure when you put those on that you kind of get them straight. Alrighty.